This is Nathan Fantasy Football League Updates. Today, we recap the Week 4 results and get you my Week 5 predictions after a crazy week. All that and more next. Nathan, Fantasy Football League Updates. Welcome back to another episode here on the channel. Today, let's recap Week 4 and get you my Week 5 predictions. And this week was a little rough for my predictions. Week 4, 2-3 overall record. So did not get a lot of games right. A lot of, in my opinion, upsets or unforeseen success. But let's waste no more time. And that's game 1. The Cave Shrimp taking on the Zestmeisters. Well, this one was a blowout in favor of the Zestmeisters. 174-103. Everything went right for the Zestmeisters. Well, everything went wrong for the Cave Shrimp. You look at it, Lamar Jackson, 23, 22, and 24 from the running back pair of Hubbard and Mason. How about Nico Collins adding 33 fantasy points? And Younghoe Koo, the staple of this Zestmeisters team, scoring 20. Really just a terrible game overall for the Cave Shrimp. You look at the other thing on the bench, the big miss, Kenneth Walker, welcome back, 33 fantasy points, 16 from George Pickens, and 15 from Cortland Sutton. So this team was rolling on all cylinders. For the Cave Shrimp, quite the opposite. The positive, Jonathan Taylor scored 19. How about an ankle injury? So we'll see if he even plays this week. Everything else, Deebo Samuels with a surprise return, but he only mustered 10. Dak Prescott did give me 16, but other than that, Garrett Wilson continues to suck, 7.1. Steelers defense, 1. Jake Elliott, 2. How about my punter with only 3? Big misses off the bench, 31 from Justin Fields and 16 from Jameson Williams. Those are the big misses of the week for the Cave Shrimp as they fall to 1-3, and the Zestmeisters improved to 2-2 after a huge 174-103 victory. So we move on to the next matchup, which literally was the craziest matchup of the week. A matchup in which every single point mattered. The entire team's point total mattered because we had a tie, 126.6 to 126.6. Crazy. Every point, everybody you started played an impact this week because you look at it, I could highlight a lot of people. You know, Amon-Ra St. Brown with 20.78. That passing touchdown makes the difference. Even the 2 points from the Eagles defense made the difference. You had 18 from Stephon Diggs, 18 from James Conner. And we look at the Avengers. Their starters, 23 from Mike Evans, 19 from Jahmyr Gibbs. Even the 13 from Patrick Mahomes mattered. And of course, the cheat code, Brandon Aubrey, his 11 points really mattered. But it came down to the tiebreaker, which is bench points. The Avengers, the big notable one, Deontay Johnson on the bench with 21, 17 from Ladd McConkey, 11 from Justin Herbert. On the other side, 16 from Xavier Worthy, 22 from Jordan Addison, 15 from Rashid Shaheed. But the tiebreaker went to the Guantanamo Bay Flying Squirrels as they upset the Michigan Avengers on the bench tiebreaker. 75 off their bench to the 70 from the Avengers, a 5-point game. Guess who probably ruined this one? It was Mark Andrews, just netting you absolutely nothing. Another zero bomb from Mark Andrews. But wow, the tiebreaker, never had to use that one before, but the Guantanamo Bay Flying Squirrels get the most insane first win of their season. We'll see if they can keep their momentum going, but boy, what a game this was. Moving on to our next matchup, another blowout. It was the Ithaca Iguanas taking on the Rocky River Rough Riders, and this one was no contest. 156-93. The Iguanas beat the Rough Riders pretty bad. A lot of blowouts this week. And how did the Iguanas do it? Well, 16 from Jalen Hurts, 16 from Joe Burrow, 24 from newly acquired Alvin Kamara, 23 from CeeDee Lamb, and 23 from the 49ers defense. Tyreek Hill only mustered 8. That's pretty much a big no-no. And Brandon Ayuk only 6. Big misses off the bench, 15 from newly acquired Jerome Ford, 12 from T. Higgins, and 17 from newly acquired off free agency, Michael Pittman. On the other side of things, the Rocky River Rough Riders had a terrible quarterback day. Of course they do. Right after Josh Allen plays hero ball last week. Josh Allen, that's 7. Anthony Richard, that's 5, and is banged up and injured. You get 10 from both your running backs. Really, 13 was your top scorer this week, with Jerry Jeudy, newly acquired, getting you 13. Everybody else was pretty poor. Big miss off the bench would be Taysom Hill, the highest scorer of the week for you on your bench with 14. On the other side of things, never mind, we already went over the Iguanas. The Iguanas get the win, 156-93 over the Rough Riders. Then we have probably one of the best matchups, one of the best matchups of the week outside of the tie. It was a 6-point game between the Brisbane Bay Bandicoots and the Empire Strikes Back. And this one went to the cruising Bandicoots, who have won 3 straight after losing the week 1 opener. They win it 147-141. Big notes for the Bandicoots: 21 for Geno Smith, 20 from Kyron Williams, 17 from Jamar Chase, 23 from the breakout rookie Malik Neighbors, 12 from the Browns defense, and 13 from Evan McPherson. Big misses off the bench. It's 28 from Jordan Love, 29 from DeAndre Swift, and 19 from Christian Kirk. So some big misses off the bench, but nonetheless, a great week for the Bandicoots. Something to note, their bench scored 106 fantasy points. That would have beaten 3 teams this week, which is nuts to think that the Bandicoots bench would have beaten 3 teams this week. So, big week for the Bandicoots. They're looking to really be cruising to top the league. On the other side for the Empire, they did get 27 from Jared Goff, 28 from Baker Mayfield, 20 from Brian Robinson, and 20 from Justin Jefferson. The big killer, though, 0 from Rashee Rice, who we fear has torn his ACL. So a big, big fall, not only in the week for the Empire, but for moving forward on the season. Big misses off the bench, 21 from Brian Thomas Jr. That is another recap done, 147-141. Bandicoots take down the Empire. Empire falls to 1-3, Bandicoots to 3-1. So our final matchup saw the Bay City Bunnies take on the Grand Rapids Groundhogs. This one, another blowout, 147-103. The Bunnies defeat the Groundhogs in dominant fashion. Groundhogs, the positives was the quarterback game. Sam Darnold netted you 20. Jaden Daniels continues to be a top quarterback with 24. You also got 15 from Marvin Harrison Jr. That was about it, though. Kyle Pitts gets you 0. Ramondre Stevenson, 8. 5 from both of your running backs in Achane and Cook. Big misses off the bench. Travis Kelce finally looking like himself a little bit, 15 points, and 15 for Andy Dalton, but that doesn't outperform your other quarterbacks. On the other side of things, Bunnies had the top score of the week. Derrick Henry, the king, is back. 35 fantasy points, led the way, and really netted you this win. CJ Stroud got you 23, and 17 and 18 from Aaron Jones and Terry McLaurin, along with 18 from Tony Pollard. Big misses off the bench, 17 from Zach Moss and 27 from Jaden Reed. So a huge victory for the Bay City Bunnies over the Grand Rapids Groundhogs, 147-103. That concludes our recap of Week 4. Let's now toss it over to my Week 5 predictions. Week 5 predictions, here we go. Some good matchups on the docket, some really fun games to take a look at. Some teams riding some winning streaks. Some teams have found their stride. Other teams really need to find it now instead of trying to play catch up. So let's take you through the 5 matchups this week. And starting things off, we'll start with the Avengers and Groundhogs. That's right, the Avengers taking on the Groundhogs. Should be a really fun matchup. I think both these teams are solid. I know the record doesn't show it for the Grand Rapids Groundhogs, but for the Michigan Avengers, obviously, they're going to be without Jahmyr Gibbs on bye week. The bye week starts, so some sprinkles of, I need to find somebody to replace this guy in the lineup. It's going to be very interesting to see how things play out. But the Avengers, Groundhogs, what I like for the Groundhogs, Jaden Daniels and Sam Darnold going to continue to shine in those quarterback positions. A really unlikely quarterback duo, but still, they'll get it done. Devon Achane has a great game against the New England Patriots, and I feel like Marvin Harrison, though, has a down game against a very good 49ers defense, and your turning point player, welcome back to the lineup, Travis Kelce. We saw him finally look a little bit more like Travis Kelce last week, so I think he continues to trend forward, but if he has a good game, that could make or break this one. If he returns to what he's been doing the rest of the season, not so much. So give me Travis Kelce as your turning point player to have a better game and continue to look more and more like the Travis Kelce we know. On the other side, for the Avengers, Aaron Rodgers has a solid game. Your turning point player, Patrick Mahomes, has a fine game. I mean, where is the 20-point performance from Patrick Mahomes almost weekly that we've come to know? I haven't seen it. It hasn't been there. We need to see that. So Patrick Mahomes is your turning point player because I need to see him actually do something. He is not yet. No Jahmyr Gibbs. So speculated at this point, but I'm pretty sure it'll be Zach Charbonnet sliding in at the RB position, but could be wrong there. Things to change. Mike Evans has another good week, and the player of the week, we are starting with the player of the week, DK Metcalf. This guy is a monster. We saw he continues to have better and better games. Well, now he goes and plays the New York Giants, who don't have size with their defensive backs. How about DK to moss some fellas? How about DK to absolutely go off? DK Metcalf, top scorer of the week. And Brandon Aubrey, the cheat code, along with DJ Moore, have some good, consistent games. So, in a 4-point spread, give me the Michigan Avengers. They're going to pull it out. I think DK makes all the difference here. Otherwise, I think some, missing players and some poor games really help the Groundhogs. But I think it does come down to the duo of Mahomes and Kelce once again. But the Avengers get it done in a 4-point spread. We move on to the next matchup. How about the Bandicoots and Flying Squirrels? Bandicoots coming off a monster victory. Even their bench had a big game. Well, the Flying Squirrels are coming off a unconventional win. So I think, looking at this matchup, Bandicoots have a great game from Love, from Geno, from Kyron Williams, from Bijan. Jamar Chase and Malik Neighbors continue to perform well. Malik Neighbors, really a breakout candidate this year, insane in his rookie campaign. Your turning point player, welcome to the lineup, Mr. DeAndre Swift. Swift obviously had a 29-point game against the Rams. Can he do that again against Carolina? I don't think he can do a 29-point game again. I think he can have a solid performance, but also, what if the Bears do struggle against Carolina? I don't know. I feel very skeptical about, the Bears against Carolina. I don't know why, but I do think DeAndre Swift has a serviceable game, but he is the Bandicoots' turning point player. On the other side of things, the Flying Squirrels will start right away with your turning point players. There's two of them. It's the quarterback tandem of Caleb Williams and Deshaun Watson. That's right. The two quarterbacks are the turning point players this week because the Flying Squirrels have not had good quarterback play. It's been very rocky, very up and down. I think they both play serviceable. Not great, though. I think both of them, continue to just get you by. Not enough to win you a game, but that's why they're your turning point players. If they really play bad, this breaks the game. If they really play good, they can make the win happen for the Flying Squirrels. I think James Conner plays serviceable. Xavier Worthy now slides in as one of the top options with Amon-Ra St. Brown, newly acquired for the Flying Squirrels, on the bench. So Worthy, or on a bye week rather, but Worthy plays serviceable, Diggs plays serviceable, Godwin plays great, and then Tucker Kraft, I know he had the big week last week. It's an anomaly for me. He goes back to getting you 5 points a game. There's no way Tucker Kraft is going to continue his momentum past a 17-point game. That might be his season high this year, but in a 10-plus point spread, give me the Bandicoots to improve to a 4-game winning streak. I just think, too many up or down guys this week for the Flying Squirrels. A couple bye weeks hurt the momentum for them. I think Chase Brown sliding in and obviously Tucker Kraft, as I talked about, really hurt the scores this week. While the Bandicoots have just some high rollers and some big games from players as usual. So give me the Bandicoots in a 10+ point spread. So our next matchup, it's the Zestmeisters and Iguanas. A very interesting matchup. Because for the Zestmeisters, they are rolling off the top scoring of the week. They really killed it against the Cave Shrimp, and I think they have some solid performers this week. Lamar has a big game. I think both the running backs, it's Kenneth Walker, Jordan Mason, both have big games. How about your wide receivers, Nico Collin and George Pickens? Solid. Kittle plays solid. And your turning point player, Chuba Hubbard, I think he continues to trend in the right direction. I feel like the Panthers know how to get him involved. They get him involved efficiently. So give me Chuba Hubbard to have another solid game. On the other side of things, for the Iguanas, you will see, obviously, no starting quarterback up to this point. There's two on the waiver wires, Bo Nix and Tyler Huntley. Either of them could end up here as well as somewhere else, as two teams need a backup quarterback. Because of that, I can only speculate with this. But at this time, I think whichever of it's Bo Nix or Tyler Huntley, they play fine. Not great. Their last picks of quarterbacks, but nonetheless, Joe Burrow plays well. Kamara and Lamb play big. They play well this week. T. Higgins and Brock Bowers actually plays pretty well this week against Denver. Your turning point player, though, Tyreek Hill. What are we doing, Tyreek? I understand no Tua, but Tua shouldn't make you drop from 23 to almost 5. Like, Tyler Huntley's good enough, right? Like, why aren't we scheming plays for Tyreek Hill? Why aren't things working? It's very frustrating. I think Tyreek Hill has another down week, especially against the New England Patriots of all teams. So because of that, Tyreek, bad week this week. I need to see more. I don't know if it's just, can we keep blaming the quarterbacks, or does some of this fall on Tyreek Hill? Get it together, Tyreek, but your turning point player for the Iguanas, Tyreek Hill. So in a 10+ point spread this week, give me the Zestmeisters. That's right. I'm taking the Zestmeisters in a 10+ point spread. This is a sleeper team. This team has started to find momentum. They picked up the right waiver wire players. This team is cruising for the Zestmeisters. Let me have them upset the Iguanas in a 10+ point spread. Big week for the Zestmeisters as they're going to start to look to try to make it to their first playoffs. I think this team might have the capability to do it. Now we get to our fourth matchup, Cave Shrimp and Bunnies. Interesting matchup for sure. For the Cave Shrimp, no Dak Prescott this week. It's Justin Fields after 2 monster weeks. He's finally going to get the nod. Got to try to get more productive running fantasy points, and I think Justin Fields is the way to go with that. I think Brock Purdy plays well. Jonathan Taylor, if he plays pretty well. Josh Jacobs needs to get in the end zone. Green Bay, what are we doing? Green Bay does not give Josh Jacobs the ball anywhere near the red zone. Now I understand how Aaron Jones feels, because this is ridiculous how many times Josh Jacobs is like in the 10, 11, 13 range. A touchdown changes that stat line so much. So Packers, you are ridiculous. Let this man score a touchdown. And then we get to my turning point player. It's Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's another frustrating pick right now, because Aaron Rodgers, what the heck are we doing? Throw him the ball. He's your best receiver every time Aaron Rodgers is healthy. Every year before, he's produced a top 5 fantasy receiver. This year, he's nowhere close because he refuses to throw the ball to his best wide receiver, Garrett Wilson. Give him the ball. He's my turning point player. He needs to have a big week in London against the Minnesota Vikings, because this is getting ridiculous to not throw Garrett Wilson the ball. Zach Wilson made Garrett Wilson more productive than Aaron Rodgers right now. Deebo Samuel will continue to have a good game. Trey McBride, if he gets off the concussion protocol, will play solid. And then Khalil Shakir back in the lineup will play pretty well. A new punter and new kicker in the building, because my last 2 were ridiculous. So Seibert for the Commanders, I think he has a pretty solid game. And then Taylor for the Bears, he'll punt a little bit. On the other side, for the Bunnies, he picked up Trevor Lawrence to replace Daniel Jones. Love that. CJ Stroud has a big week. Trevor Lawrence has a solid week. Derrick Henry keeps rolling. Not as big of a game as he had last week, but still a 20-plus point week. Aaron Jones and Terry McLaurin play solid. Your turning point player this week is Zay Flowers of the Ravens. Baltimore has not gotten him involved the last 2 weeks. He sat at like 2 or 3 fantasy points. I don't really understand. Like, obviously, Derrick Henry's been doing so well, but they refuse to throw him the ball. They refuse to throw Mark Andrews the ball. Baltimore just doesn't throw the football. So, Zay Flowers, your turning point player. David Njoku, a good free agency pickup, will do wonders for you. I think he is much better than Hunter Henry, who would have started this week. And Jaden Reed, welcome to the lineup. How about a decent game for him? And now let's get you my predictions. In a 7-point spread, give me the Bay City Bunnies to take down the Bowling Green Cave Shrimp. Things get worse for the Cave Shrimp. Josh Jacobs and Garrett Wilson continue to pull this team down, and the injury to Isaiah Pacheco continues to hurt this team tremendously. The Bunnies just have a lot going for them. Give me the Bunnies to improve to 4-1 with a 7-point win over the Cave Shrimp. Then we get to my game of the week. The game of the week, if you've done the math, it's the Empire Strikes Back versus the Rocky River Rough Riders. This one should be a fun one, but fun in a different way. I think this one's a little bit low scoring. The Empire are in a very similar situation, the Iguanas, where they need either Bo Nix or Tyler Huntley. So I've got to really just guess on who they're getting or speculate on, how much points both of them will get. So I went with an average. I think Baker Mayfield has a great game. Obviously no Jared Goff with the bye week. So the other quarterback will play fine. Brian Robinson with no Saquon will be in there with Travis Etienne. Both of them, I think, play pretty well this week. Justin Jefferson plays really solid. He's facing Sauce Gardner in the New York Jets, so I don't think it's a 20 bomb, but I still think it's very good. Then your turning point player, it's Brian Thomas Jr., the rookie, who's had some really good games for the Jaguars. I think he plays serviceable this week, so a solid turning point player for you. And then Najee Harris is going to slide into the flex. He'll do serviceable. On the other side of things, for the Rocky River Rough Riders, give me Anthony Richardson if he plays to score above 10. He hasn't done that in a while, so he'll score above 10. I'll give you that. Josh Allen gets back to the 20-plus point performance. Your running backs play fine. Drake London has a good game. Jerry Jeudy and Ferguson play serviceable. And then your turning point player. Boy, is this a bold move. The Rocky River Rough Riders are starting Taysom Hill at your flex. I know he scored 14, which was the highest on your team last week. There's no way the Saints let him get in the end zone a bunch of times. I think they're playing the Chiefs this week. There's no way the Chiefs let Taysom Hill get in the end zone a ton of times. No way Taysom Hill scores over 10 this week. Your turning point player is a crazy bold prediction, but let's get you my prediction. Like I said, a low scoring game, but in a 7-point spread for the game of the week. Give me the Empire to defeat the Rocky River Rough Riders in a 7-point spread. I think, Jefferson, Etienne, Robinson Jr., and Mayfield, despite having Josh Allen, the game is not over as long as Josh Allen is there. But Drake London, Josh Allen, maybe Anthony Richardson, but then you add Taysom Hill to the mix, and the running back tandem of Rashid White and Javonte Williams are not doing it. So give me the Empire Strikes Back to defeat the Rocky River Rough Riders. So those are my 5 predictions. I've got the Avengers, the Empire, the Bandicoots, the Zestmeisters, and the Bunnies all winning this week. So that'll do it for today's prediction video. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think I, overvalued some players this week, undervalued some players this week? Let me know who you think is going to have a big game this week in the comments below. Until then, we'll see you next week with the recap of this week and my predictions for week 6. Until then, have a good one. Best luck to all of you playing this week, and have a good one here on the Nathan Sports Talks channel.